I'm testing a number of things this morning. Oh, let's zip this closed. I've changed the settings on the camera and put brand new bubble protectors on the lens to try to improve the picture. There we go. Okay, now I have my rear view on. I've also attached a microphone that has a windscreen on it so that it will pick up what I say. So those are changes. There we go. Those are changes with the camera that I'm testing this morning. Hopefully I'll get better results with the picture, but if the light still smears a little bit, I can close the aperture down a little bit more. So the lenses should be completely clean. I know they don't have any scratches on them. And I know that the bubble protectors that are on there don't have any scratches on them. However, just the bubble protectors themselves may be causing some light smearing. So, given that I'm reasonably confident that I can ride without with the camera set where it is, without it encountering anything, I may elect to remove the bubble, but keep them on, except when I've got an issue with night rides. So for daytime use, definitely keep the bubble protectors on. I can also ratchet the aperture down just a little bit. I want to find out how this microphone does as far as capturing my speech, and hopefully it will pick up enough nat sound so that the balance between my talking and the natural sound is better, because I need the natural sound. I still want it, but I don't want it to dominate. I want to be able to talk. So if this turns out well, even though there's not going to be anything really revolutionary as far as video goes, I may add this ride to my new channel, Indie Night Rider, and of course archive the video as private on my archive channel, my eponymous archive channel, Robert Bruce Scott. But I really want Indie Night Rider to be the only place that you can go to find these night rides, and that's a channel that's just devoted to riding bicycles at night. Now, there's starting to be a bit of a snap in the air, so I don't know about my planned rides later, but I'm thinking that at some point I want to pack my Aventon into my truck. I can't really put this tricycle into my truck. I wish I could. It'd be wonderful if I could figure out a way to do that, but I think I would have to build a ramp, because I don't think I could safely get it in and out of the truck. I think it would fit, but I don't think I could safely get it in and out of the truck without risking an insult to the derailleur. And I don't want to have to replace the derailleur again. So, even though I'm always in 7th gear, which has the derailleur as high up with as high a clearance as is available, it's still pretty close to the ground. And it is the clearance issue with this tricycle is the distance between the derailleur and the ground. In 1st gear, that derailleur is almost just grinding against it's just less than an inch away from the ground. In its current position, I think its clearance is more like about 2.5, 3 inches. But still not a whole lot of clearance. Of course, that's probably not all that different from a standard bicycle. Or from a, not from a standard bicycle, but from my Aventon. But the wheels on the Aventon are bigger. So, and also on a bicycle, the derailleur isn't by itself in the middle of the axle. It's right next to the rear wheel. So, clearance issues aren't as big a deal with a bicycle on the derailleur as they are with the tricycle. The tricycle, the derailleur is just kind of exposed. Okay, so now there's another experiment going on this morning, and that has to do with my handlebars. And I really need to write this up for my blog. Be careful, people, it's really stupid out there. I had an issue occur a couple of days ago where the handlebars came loose and I couldn't steer the tricycle. It became unrideable. It got to the point where the handlebars just turned freely and wouldn't turn the front wheel at all. And it took a while to diagnose it. And I had to learn a little bit about how the handlebars are attached to the drive shaft, or not the drive shaft, but the steering column. And that was a very interesting lesson, and maybe any bicyclist who knows anything about bicycles knows that these things are held in tension by spacers, essentially, which means that there's two spacers that are involved. First, there's a neck which has to attach to the drive column, or the steering column rather. And inside that is a bolt that requires a 6mm hex key. And one of the bitter lessons I learned is that I need to carry my hex keys with me all the time, or my Allen wrenches, I should say. I've got a metric set of Allen wrenches. Those are now in my pack, and my bicycle pack is getting rather full, and I need to go through it and get stuff out of it that doesn't need to be in there. Because I carry my cameras in there, and my gloves, and my hat, and all other sorts of bicycling gear. It's now to the point where I can't carry much of anything else without opening the saddlebags. And since I just set the pack, I carry it with me in my truck because I carry my air compressor in it in case I get a leaky tire. And I carry it on my trike, and I carry it on my bicycle. It attaches to my bicycle. And on the bicycle, I can use the saddlebags, but in the truck and in the tricycle, I can't realistically use the saddlebags. But that pack, because of the tools that are in it, specifically the air compressor, is with me whenever I travel. So there are now hex keys in there. All the hex keys I need for, or Allen wrenches I need for this tricycle. So the neck comes out of the steering column. And when the neck goes into the steering column, there's a spacer at the bottom of the neck that gets pushed outward by turning the hex key that runs all, this big long bolt that runs all the way through the neck. Well, that had gotten loose so that the entire neck could turn freely without controlling the steering column. Now, on top of that is an elbow assembly that holds the handlebars. And that also attaches by a spacer, or through a spacer, that's at the top of the neck. And that has a shorter bolt that's about 2 inches long, that holds that expands that spacer that in turn holds the elbow with the handlebar assembly, locks it into the neck. Well, I had lost that bolt and I didn't realize it. That's a 5mm hex key. And then once that 5mm, what that 5mm hex key goes through is a 6mm hex key that controls the expander. And that 6mm hex key was all the way tight. And indeed, the handlebars and the neck were turning as one. That wasn't the issue. It was the neck was loose from the steering column. And so I got in contact with the manufacturer and one of his experts there at Oh Wow Cycles. And they said, okay, you need to remove this this bolt from the top of the neck. Well, I couldn't remove it because it was no longer there. And that was a mystery. That was the first mystery to solve. So I had loosened there's two smaller bolts in front that also cinch the elbow to the neck. So I'd loosened that all the way, but the neck would just not come up off of the elbow wouldn't come up off the neck. I ended up having to take the handlebars off the elbow and then use essentially hammer and chisel to work my way around the lip underneath the elbow. And I wish I'd taken video of all of this so that I could then free the elbow from the neck. Once I got it up out of there, then I could remove the expander from the top of the neck. Then I removed the bolt from inside. Well, in all of this process, I'd also used some WD-40 to loosen the elbow from the neck. And Ash and Jesse at Oh Wow Cycles told me, hey, if you get any lubricant down in that steering column, you're never going to get the thing to stay tightened. So once I got all the parts out, or I thought I had gotten all the parts out rather, as recommended by Jesse, I took some degreaser meant for brake assemblies and degreased the interior of the steering column and all of the parts that fit down into it. And let them dry, degrease them again, let them dry, degrease them again. That's some nasty caustic chemicals there. And there was definitely lubricant on the threads of the bolt. And there was lubricant on other parts in there too. Well, it was actually the lubricant that was the reason it had come loose in the first place. What has happened is I've been turning this tricycle upside down, and there's several videos on my eponymous channel of me turning the tricycle upside down so that I could handle repair issues. I had the engine sliding backwards. There's a broken part on the engine that they eventually had to come out and replace. And the chain was jumping the sprocket, and the only way to get the chain back on the sprocket was to turn the thing upside down so that I could freely turn the rear wheels to reattach the chain. I'm doing this, out in the field. So we got that issue fixed, but there's also an issue with something back there. You can hear it grinding. That has been an increasing problem. I'm confident they'll solve the problem, but it is a problem that gets worse over time. So, I'm hopeful that they'll come up with, they'll figure out what it is, and they'll come up with a solution and be able to effect that solution. But to keep that under control, I've been lubricating the trike. And again, to lubricate the trike effectively, for me, the easiest thing is to turn the trike upside down. And while I'm lubricating the rear axle and the rear wheels, and there's video of me doing that on my eponymous channel, I was also lubricating the front wheel while it was upside down. So what I think happened is that when I was lubricating the front wheel, some of the lubricant worked its way up the forks into the steering column, gradually worked its way into the mechanism that holds the neck cinched to the steering column, and lubricated that so that it was no longer making firm contact, and gradually it just worked its way free as I was riding. So I have now taken all that assembly out of there, degreased it and a couple of times and let it dry a couple of times. And you know, I could see the grease coming off of it because the grease turns black. So I could see the grease coming off of it. Now, and it was black. And when I sprayed the degreaser down into the steering column, I could see grease coming out of the steering column onto the forks. So that's what I figure happened, is that while I was lubricating the front wheel, let's see if I can hear the wait button. I hit this, wait, and it says wait. That's why I call it the wait button. So as I was lubricating the front wheel, apparently I was also gradually lubricating the steering column. So now, hopefully, I've got that all fixed, and I won't have any issues with the neck coming loose off of the inside the steering column. So this is my test ride of that, and it's also my commute to work. So I'm not really worried about it coming loose and making the thing unrideable before I get to work, but I may end up having to take my lunch hour to take the thing apart, wipe it down, and put it back together. But I don't envision having to do that. I'm just riding, and I'll see what happens. I'll also review the video that I'm capturing this morning and see if I manage to get better video of all these lights, which the last time I took video of them, they were kind of smeared. So I'm still learning things about this camera. The last time I rode it, I had it on, well, I've always had it on the automatic settings. But doing a little bit of research, I found that people who do night photography with the Insta360 recommend ratcheting down the automatic aperture. So instead of it set at 0 as its baseline, it's set at minus 1.3, whatever that means. But you can find that inside in the camera's onboard controls, what the aperture's default setting is. So instead of a default setting of 0, I now have it at a default setting of minus 1.3. And I was advised that the advice that I read or watched, consumed on YouTube, was that if I still get smeary video after that, I should try ratcheting it down to minus 1.7 on the aperture. It was also recommended that I remove the bubble protectors, but I'm keeping them on for this experiment because I'd really rather have them on than off. Even though I'm reasonably confident that I'm not going to encounter anything. I just felt like I was just riding through ground up glass. And that's why I have anti-puncture liners inside my tires. So if any of that migrates through the tires, the anti-puncture liner will keep it from getting into the tube and compromising the tube. So technology. And I'm a technophile, but I'm not necessarily handy with technology. I'm having to learn a lot more than I ever expected I'd have to learn. You know, I just expect technology to work and to do what I want it to do. But apparently, I have to actually know something about it and tinker with it and fiddle with it to get it to do what I want it to do. Who knew that it would be that complicated? So, if this video works out, if this narrative works out, I may add this video to my new channel, which the reason I'm running a separate channel just for this is I am getting to the point now, after 10 years of being a YouTuber with almost no viewership, but that's not really why I YouTubed. You know, I started my YouTube channel 10 years ago, primarily to establish copyrights on the music that I've written. And over time, I've been using it to put out guitar lessons. And those guitar tutorials and some mandolin tutorials were really never so much to attempt to get a viewership, although they have drawn a few viewers. They were more there for me, because I have so much music that I've played over the years, and I do play some really complicated stuff, that I can't keep it all in my head. So I can go back to the tutorial and show myself or relearn how to play something when I need to bring it back into my working repertoire. So I was really kind of using my YouTube channel to offboard a lot of memory to remember how to do things. But in the process, I gained a few viewers and my channel became monetizable. But, morning. Watching videos about monetizing YouTube channels in turn led me to understand that it is entirely possible to monetize a channel and then lose the channel and have it deleted forever because of copyright strikes or violations of community standards. So I am no longer going to risk I don't want to risk my eponymous channel, my original channel, because it's got 10 years of material on it. And while I don't have an income stream writing on that material, I do have it as a one of many ways of protecting my rights on the music that I write, because I've published it on YouTube. So I've also published CDs that precede all of that, and I could use those, but they're not as solid because I self-published them, whereas YouTube is a public platform. So I think that really strengthens my copyright claims on my music. So I definitely don't want to lose my eponymous channel. It's important to me, even though it's probably never going to be monetized. It's not going to be a huge, it's not ever going to draw a huge viewership. But I'm getting to the point now where I do want to monetize. Until this turns green. There we go. And so I want to monetize in a way that protects my eponymous channel. So I don't want to monetize that channel. So I'm creating a spin-off channel. Or actually, my plan is to create a number of them, and not do anything that I haven't already been doing all this time, but have each individual channel dedicated to one of my interests, and kind of throw these different interests that I've been recording all this time, throw them at the wall and see what sticks. Bicycling is one of my big interests, so I decided to start with my night rides, partly because I've got the Insta360. So what I'm going to do to distinguish this video from my other Insta360 videos of this particular trail, which I've been over so many times. And of course the 360, I can edit the ride in different ways to try to keep it interesting. But there's this little sculpture garden down here that I'm going to go visit. And my steering column seems to be holding firm, so I'm good with that. So, let's go visit this little sculpture garden here. One of the ideas that I have for this channel, for Indie Night Rider, is, wow, look at that moon. Okay, I'm going to have to reposition so that I can get a good shot of that moon with this in the background. There's my friendly police officer keeping me safe. I'm not going to go down to the sculpture garden, but I am going to ride around over here and just get some shots of this. Look at that. Isn't that fun? Now, I've shot these before with my bicycle camera, with my handlebar camera, but I want to get some shots of them with the Insta360. So let's just sit here in the middle of all this. So I've got some video that I can turn around and edit. Look at that. Okay, time for you to change colors. And here we go. And that's changed colors again. Okay, this right here could create some interesting video with the 360. Just sit here for a moment. So I can just kind of pan around and have a look at all this stuff. Some of them change much faster than others. Interesting. Okay. Here we go. And here's the front one. There. Okay. Now let's get to work. Oh yeah, I was going to set up a shot with the moon. Right like that. That ought to be a good shot. Okay. All right, now let's get to work. And as I have done with these videos in the past, let's end with the deer. Because I like the deer. I don't know if their fountain is going to be on this morning. Starting to get a little bit of a nip in the air. It's like about 50 degrees. So I'm going to have to put on my jacket soon and dig out my winter gloves. And I'm hoping that if all this stuff works out, oh, the fountain's on, yay! There's the fountain. Okay, let me turn the Insta360 toward the fountain. Oh! Boola, boola, boola. There we go. Maybe I can turn the trike in such a way that the light hits the fountain. Nah, we'll just deal with natural light. Okay, now I can go ahead and take my gloves off. I won't need them on for the rest of the ride, I don't think. All right. Let's disassemble the Insta360 here so I don't have to do it at work. And